The Anthill Kids. This was one of the most disturbing doomsday cults, founded by sadistic Canadian Roch Theriault in the mid-1970s in Quebec. Originally based on Seventh-day Adventist beliefs, Theriault convinced followers to abandon their lives for his commune, initially promoting unity and sin-free living. He was a very charismatic man, good at persuading others to do his bidding. However, he was expelled from the church in 1978 and isolated his group, claiming divine warnings of an impending apocalypse. He then moved the commune to a remote mountainside, dubbing it Eternal Mountain. He made his followers build a village while he just chilled. As his apocalypse predictions failed, he became increasingly controlling and abusive. Theriault married and impregnated 9 women in the commune, fathering over 20 children, to keep everyone devoted and expand the community, of course. Soon, he couldn't hide his sadistic tendencies anymore and began to severely punish members for no reason. He would hit them with belts and hammers, pluck their hair, or defecate on them. He even forced members to break their own legs with sledgehammers. He also made them sit on lit stoves or eat dead mice and feces. In 1989, after torturing and performing fatal amateur surgeries on followers, one woman escaped and alerted authorities, resulting in the cult's dissolution. Theriault was imprisoned for assault and second-degree murder, eventually being killed by an inmate in 2011. Jehovah's Witnesses. A Christian denomination or cult, depending on perspective, Jehovah's Witnesses reported around 8.6 million members in 2023. They believe in the imminent destruction of the world at Armageddon and the establishment of God's kingdom as the only solution to humanity's problems, worshipping Jehovah as the creator. Emerging from Charles Taze Russell's Bible student movement in the late 1870s, Jehovah's Witnesses are known for door-to-door preaching and refusing military service and blood transfusions, even when they are sick. They reject the inherent immortality of the soul and hellfire, considering them unscriptural. They do not celebrate holidays like Christmas or Easter, believing them to have pagan origins, and use their own Bible translation, denying that Jesus was God's son. Critics, including former members, accuse the group of indoctrinating members, especially children, fostering fear of the outside world, and promoting the belief that only faithful members will be saved. They describe a culture of strict adherence to rules, with any deviation met with ostracization, creating a dangerous groupthink environment. Since 1920, members also must report their preaching activity, with personal quotas imposed in 1943, which still exists today. The governing body establishes doctrines tolerating no dissent and expelling those who openly disagree, while warning members to avoid independent thinking. Most members are fearful to voice criticism, suppressing doubts for fear of losing their relationships with friends and relatives. Jehovah's Witnesses have been openly criticized for coercion, shunning, and mishandling of sexual abuse cases. The organization was associated with abuse cases several times now, although there's never been real proof. Order of Nine Angels. The Order of Nine Angels, or short O9A, is a militant satanic and occultist network originating from the United Kingdom, now with factions worldwide. Known as one of the most extreme Satanist groups, it claims roots in pre-Christian pagan traditions in the Welsh Marches. O9A combines mystical Hermeticism and traditional Satanism, and wants their members to do illegal stuff to get rid of cultural conditioning. The group encourages human sacrifice as a satanic requirement and wants members to be part of anarchist, neo-Nazi, or Islamist groups to destabilize Western society. The cult gained public recognition in the early 1980s for its neo-Nazi ideology and has been linked to high-profile far-right figures and terrorist groups. The sect has a history of encouraging terrorism and homicides to fulfill their demonic pacts, how they call it. They've also been connected to leaking classified information, stockpiling weapons, or planned assassinations. Several cases of sexual abuse are also associated with O9A, including the sexual abuse of a 14-year-old girl. The group operates in autonomous cells known as nections, predominantly in Europe but also in the US, Russia, Egypt, South Africa, Brazil, and Australia. The cult mainly attracts white supremacists and troubled individuals through online materials, with an estimated 2,000 affiliates. Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The FLDS Church emerged in 1935 as a breakaway sect from the Latter-day Saint Church, primarily due to the latter's 1890 abandonment of polygamy. Some LDS members continued practicing polygamy in secret, believing it essential for salvation in the afterlife. Leaders John Barlow and Joseph Musser formally organized the FLDS Church, establishing a community in Short Creek, Arizona. The church teaches that God operates through a single leader who has complete religious authority. They believe plural marriage is necessary for the highest salvation, requiring men to have at least 3 wives with a patriarchal structure where wives are subordinate. Members follow a mandatory dress code. Women wear long-sleeve prairie dresses and avoid cutting their hair or wearing makeup, while men wear plain long-sleeved shirts and trousers. After former leader Rulon Jeffs died in 2002, his son Warren Jeffs assumed control. Under Warren's leadership, the FLDS Church became more isolated and authoritarian. The FLDS has been subject to numerous allegations including child marriages, incest, child abuse, racism, blood atonement teachings, welfare exploitation, and child labor. Former leader Warren Jeffs was convicted of sexual assault and sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years in 2007. Despite his imprisonment, the FLDS Church persists, albeit fragmented and currently without any clear leader. Lev Tahor. Lev Tahor is an extremist Jewish sect and cult founded by Shlomo Hellbrands in 1988, consisting of about 200 to 300 members. Hellbrands, after moving to the US in the early 1990s, was imprisoned for kidnapping a 13-year-old boy. Post-release, he and his followers settled in Canada but fled due to accusations of child neglect from government agencies. The group has moved frequently since then, residing in Mexico since around 2017 and later in Romania and other countries. Lev Tahor follows a strict fundamentalist interpretation of Jewish law, enforcing lengthy prayer sessions, head-to-toe black coverings for girls and women at the age of 3, and a very restricted diet. Children are taught to look at the ground while walking to school to avoid seeing non-Jewish neighbors or temptations like swimming pools. They are also discouraged from activities like laughing. Critics accuse Lev Tahor of child abuse, brainwashing, drug use, and forced marriages of teenage girls to much older men. Children are often separated from their parents and raised to report each other for rule breaking, leading to beatings. The leader Hellbrands drowned in 2017 during a ritual, and his son Nachman took over, enforcing even stricter practices. Nachman was detained in 2018 for kidnapping and smuggling children, yet the cult persists in multiple countries to this day. Church of the Lamb of God. This was an extremist Mormon faction established by Ervil LeBaron. It all started in 1924, where his father, Alma LeBaron, moved his family to Mexico, where the government showed no interest in prosecuting polygamists. After Alma's death, multiple sons asserted themselves as his rightful heirs. In 1955, Joel, one of his sons, established the Church of the Firstborn and assumed the title of president. His brother Ervil became second in command. However, in 1967, Ervil began preaching against his brother, accusing him of crimes against their faith. He promoted the revival of the Mormon doctrine of blood atonement, believing sinners needed to die for salvation. His brother Joel rejected this notion. Declaring himself as the rightful heir, Ervil established his own church, using manipulation and fear to dominate his followers. In 1972, Ervil arranged the killing of his brother Joel, but Joel's supporters did not side with Ervil. Instead, they called for his arrest. Ervil then targeted his other brother Verlin, whom Joel's followers had chosen as their new leader. Ervil now prompted his followers to attack his brother's settlement, killing 2 men and injuring 13, but Verlin had already left to Nicaragua. In 1974, Ervil was arrested but bribed his way out. Now he shifted his attention to other rival leaders and even killed his stepdaughter, his 17-year-old daughter who was pregnant, and other supporters who tried to leave his church. An absolute maniac. Convicted in 1979, Ervil died in prison in 1981. While in prison, he wrote a Bible which included a commandment to kill other disobedience. It's believed that over 25 people, including children, were killed due to LeBaron's directives from his prison cell. The cult fragmented after his demise. Some members and ex-members remain in hiding, fearing retribution. Whether the cult persists today is uncertain. Providence, also known as Christian Gospel Mission or Jesus Morning Star, Providence is a new religious movement founded in 1980 by Jung Sok, a self-proclaimed messiah after breaking away from the Unification Church, aka the Moonies. The group is headquartered in South Korea and has expanded to over 70 countries. Providence criticizes traditional Christian teachings, claiming Jung as the second coming of Jesus Christ. Providence's core teachings, found in their 30 lessons, imply that only those who meet Jung will enter heaven, and betraying him of course is a grave sin. Jung is presented as the Messiah, and followers are taught that original sin can be redeemed by having intercourse with him. Jung coerced female followers into sexual acts to save their souls, presented as purification rites and health checks. Former members have testified that young women were offered to him also as sexual gifts. The group has been accused of indoctrination, illegal heckling of dissidents, and various abuses. In 2009, Jung was convicted of rape and sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was released in 2018 but arrested again in 2022 on new charges. The Parhamites. The Parhamites were a cult following Charles F. Parham, the founder of the modern Pentecostal movement. In Zion City, Illinois, Parham seized an opportunity amid the turmoil following John Dowie's exposure as a fraud. Parham quickly gained a big following by claiming prophetic messages and positioning himself as a savior for Zion's people. Parham's teachings included the belief that all sickness and insanity stemmed from demon possession, leading to violent exorcisms of his members. His followers, under his orders, healed an elderly woman with rheumatism by breaking most of her bones and killing her. They also exorcised a teenage boy with typhoid fever by shoving tools in his throat and cutting out his tongue. Reports suggest up to 12 other victims, though details were suppressed. Parham's leadership in Zion was short-lived. He left after a water tower collapsed on his meeting tent. His reputation further deteriorated after arrests for sexual assault on minors in 1907. Mad about Parham's departure, the Parhamites continued violent exorcisms, drawing national attention. Parham, never charged for these murders, died in 1929 from heart problems. Love Has Won, also known as the Galactic Federation of Light, this was an American new religious movement led by Amy Carlson, blending New Age spirituality, conspiracy theories, and elements from Abrahamic religions. The group claimed Carlson was a 19 billion-year-old divine being reincarnated 500 times, including as Jesus and Marilyn Monroe, and destined to lead 144,000 people into a fifth dimension, whatever that means. Carlson also stated that Donald Trump was her father in a former life, and that she spoke to the spirit of deceased Robin Williams, who she claimed was Archangel Zadkiel. The group also believed in the existence of Atlantis and that ancient shape-shifting reptilians ruled the world. Living in Crestone, Colorado, the group conducted daily YouTube live streams to recruit members, beg for donations, and promote New Age products or supplements. They also offered etheric surgery for $88 per session, claiming it could remove sickness and negative energy. Ex-members and media outlets described the group as a cult, accusing it of physical abuse, including children, sleep deprivation, brainwashing, and fraud. Carlson was reportedly abusive and drank lots of alcohol despite banning such behaviors for others. In April 2021, Carlson's mummified body was found in a makeshift shrine inside the mission house. She had been ingesting large amounts of colloidal silver, which she thought would cure her cancer. After her death, the group splintered, with Father God Jason Castillo forming a new group called Joy Reigns. The Hare Krishna community. The Hare Krishna community, originally founded on principles of peace, fell under the influence of Keith Ham, also known as Kirtanananda Swami, who led followers into crime, murder, and child abuse. As a branch of Hinduism, the Hare Krishna movement traces its roots to the 16th century. Ham became a devoted follower of Srila Prabhupada, who brought the movement, formerly known as the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, to the US in 1966. Ham founded New Vrindaban in West Virginia and built a golden laden palace palace. Named a guru by Prabhupada just before his death in 1977, Ham's quest for power led him to employ violent followers like Vietnam veteran Thomas Drescher. Ham's rule saw crime flourish, including fraudulent fundraising and violence against dissenters and women. He was implicated in the murder of Charles St. Denis, who had confronted Ham about his immoral activities. Soon after, Drescher, Ham's enforcer, killed Steve Bryant, who planned to expose his crimes. Drescher was convicted and later testified against Ham, leading to Ham's plea deal for racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder, resulting in a 20-year sentence. Throughout the years, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness faced broader allegations of child abuse, kidnapping, and brainwashing, besides Ham's stuff going on in West Virginia. Despite these scandals, New Vrindavan remains a place of worship, and the Krishna community continues with about 10 million followers worldwide. Worldwide Church of God. This cult was founded by Herbert W. Armstrong in the 1930s as the Radio Church of God, later renamed in 1968. Armstrong, who claimed to be the last apostle of Jesus, combined elements of Seventh-day Adventism and Judaism to create what he called the one true religion. He preached that Britain and the United States were inhabited by descendants of two lost tribes of ancient Israel. His broadcasts often used fear tactics to solicit funds, leading to the purchase of a private jet funded by tithes. To make sure everyone paid their tithes, a local minister would come into your house demanding to see your income tax returns. The church exercised extreme control over its members' lives, including finances and personal decisions, demanding strict obedience and instilling fear of eternal damnation. Members were forced to attend weekly Sabbath services from Friday to Saturday. There, everyone, including children, was expected to sit quietly without any distractions. Any child who disobeyed was taken to the restroom and severely beaten with a wooden paddle. They also celebrated Jewish feasts, which involved fasting for 24 hours and long travel. Holidays like Christmas, Easter, Memorial, and Independence Day were forbidden. Traditional gender roles were enforced and medical care was forbidden, leading to unnecessary suffering and death, while Armstrong himself had, of course, his private doctor. Armstrong even exploited his wife, who was suffering from cancer, for financial gain. Following Armstrong's death in 1986, his successor made doctrinal changes. In 2009, the church rebranded as Grace Communion International, apparently distancing itself from its cult-like past. Today, the denomination claims to have 30,000 members in 70 countries. Nation of Yahweh, founded in 1979 by black separatist and supremacist Yahweh Ben Yahweh, the Nation of Yahweh is an American religious cult. Headquartered in Florida, the group had thousands of black American devotees at its peak. Yahweh preached that Jesus was black and that white devils temporarily ruled over black people, characterizing whites and Jews as infidels and oppressors. He demanded loyalty to himself as the Son of God. Yahweh's teachings included a dualistic worldview where blacks were central to a cosmic battle between good and evil, with whites seen as inherently evil. He advocated black pride, economic empowerment, separatism, and promoted strict dietary guidelines. He viewed Christianity as a tool to subjugate blacks. His theology was described as one of vengeance against white America. In the 1990s, Yahweh faced legal troubles, serving 11 years for conspiracy related to more than a dozen murders. Released on parole in 2001, his activities were restricted until a few months before his death in 2007. The Nation of Yahweh remains active, still viewing Yahweh as a messiah. The group dispersed across the US. Kingdom of Jesus Christ. This cult is a Philippine-based non-Trinitarian restorationist church founded by Apollo Quiboloy in 1985 after his expulsion from the United Pentecostal Church of the Philippines for unorthodox teachings. Quiboloy proclaimed himself as the owner of the universe and is regarded by his followers as the appointed Son of God. He claims divine powers such as stopping the 2019 Cotabato earthquakes. The church, which claims 6 million members worldwide, believes salvation is exclusive to its members. Quiboloy's leadership has been marred by numerous controversies. These include accusations of brainwashing, kidnapping, and sexual abuse of his followers under the guise of avoiding eternal damnation. The armed wing of the Communist Party of the Philippines has even accused them of killing a family in 2008 after they allegedly refused to sell some land to Quiboloy and his cult. Quiboloy and his church are currently under legal scrutiny, with the FBI seeking him for sex and human trafficking, marriage fraud, coercion, money laundering and other charges. An arrest warrant was issued by the Senate of the Philippines in March 2024, but Quiboloy is currently in hiding. Subscribe for more videos and click that like button down there to support us.